Ladies and gentlemen, imagine a river. It twists and turns, carving its way through valleys, meadows, and mountains. Its path is never fixed, and yet it is always moving, always flowing. Life, much like this river, is not static. It is a flow, a continuous, dynamic rhythm that carries us through moments of joy, challenge, and growth. To live fully is to recognize this rhythm and to embrace it. When we resist the flow, trying to anchor ourselves in fleeting moments, we create tension, like a dam holding back a rushing stream. But when we release that need for control, something magical happens. The river takes us not where we think we need to be, but where we are meant to go. Life's beauty lies in its interconnection. Just as a river cannot exist without the rain, the earth and the sea, we too are inseparable from the world around us. Our joys, our struggles, even our seemingly small acts ripple outward, becoming part of a greater whole. When we see ourselves not as isolated droplets, but as part of the vast river of existence, we find a profound sense of belonging. And yet, how often do we try to swim against the current? We plan, we strategize, we cling to an illusion of control. But life in its wisdom flows on, indifferent to our resistance. True peace comes not from fighting the current, but from surrendering to it, from trusting that the flow of life knows where it is taking us, even when we do not. So let us live like the river, ever changing, ever connected, and ever flowing. Let us embrace the rhythm of existence, not as something to conquer, but as something to dance with. Because in the end, life is not a destination, it is a flow. Thank you. Life, when seen as a flow, unveils its true nature as a rhythm, a dance of interconnected moments that constantly arise and dissolve. Just as a river courses through the landscape, winding its way through valleys, over rocks, and into the open sea, life follows its own rhythm, moving through phases of joy, sorrow, stillness, and change. To fully grasp this rhythm is to understand that existence itself is not a series of isolated events, but a seamless unfolding where each moment is connected to the next in an intricate, harmonious pattern. In our day-to-day lives, it is easy to get caught up in the idea of life as a series of checkpoints, the achievements we strive for, the milestones we measure ourselves against, the plans we carefully craft and attempt to realize. Yet this perspective misses something fundamental. Life, in its essence, is not something that can be confined to these static points. It is a continuous stream, always moving, always evolving. To view it otherwise is like trying to hold onto water. It slips through our fingers no matter how tightly we grasp. The rhythm of life can be felt everywhere if we pause to notice it. Consider the simple act of breathing. Inhale, exhale, a rhythm that sustains our very existence. It mirrors the ebb and flow of the tides, the cycles of day and night, the changing of the seasons. Everything in nature flows. The trees sway with the wind, rivers carve paths through the earth, clouds gather and dissipate. This rhythm is not just external, it is within us, around us, and inseparable from who we are. And yet many of us resist this natural flow. We resist change, cling to what feels safe, and attempt to hold on to moments as if they can last forever. This resistance creates tension, a kind of friction against the natural movement of life. It is like trying to swim upstream in a strong current, exhausting, futile, and ultimately unnecessary. When we insist on controlling every detail, on making life conform to our expectations, we find ourselves out of sync with its rhythm. We struggle, and in that struggle we lose sight of the beauty inherent in simply being carried by the flow. This resistance stems from the illusion that life can be fixed, that we can achieve some state of permanence where everything is stable, predictable, and secure. But nothing in life is truly static. Even the mountains, which appear solid and unchanging, are in a constant state of transformation, eroding and reshaping over millennia. Likewise, our lives are shaped by forces beyond our control, unexpected events, relationships, opportunities, and challenges. These forces, while sometimes unsettling, are what keep life alive, dynamic and meaningful. Without them, existence would stagnate. To align ourselves with the rhythm of life, we must first recognize that change is not something to fear, but something to embrace. The flow of life does not follow a straight path. It winds and twists, sometimes gently, sometimes turbulently. But every turn, every detour, is part of the larger journey. When we let go of the need to force life into a rigid structure, we begin to move with its rhythm, rather than against it. We find that there is a kind of effortlessness in surrendering to the flow, a lightness that comes from trusting that life knows how to unfold, even when we do not understand its direction. This trust does not mean passivity. It does not mean drifting aimlessly or giving up on dreams and goals. Rather, it is about engaging with life fully, but without the need to control its outcome. Imagine a dancer moving to music. The dancer does not try to dictate the rhythm or change the tune, they simply respond to it, allowing their movements to be guided by the beat. In the same way, we can live in harmony with the flow of life by responding to its rhythm with openness, curiosity, and grace. When we are in sync with this rhythm, something profound happens. We begin to notice the interconnectedness of all things the way every experience, no matter how small, contributes to the larger pattern of our lives. A chance encounter, a fleeting moment of beauty, a difficult lesson, each becomes part of the dance, enriching the whole. This awareness brings with it a sense of peace, a deep knowing that we are not separate from the flow, but an integral part of it. The rhythm of life is not something we create, it is something we are born into, something we are a part of whether we acknowledge it or not. It is present in every breath, every heartbeat, every sunrise and sunset. To live in harmony with this rhythm is to experience life as it truly is, ever-changing, interconnected, and profoundly alive. Everything in life is part of a greater whole, an interconnected web of relationships that cannot be separated or isolated. This is the essence of interdependence, a truth that is both simple and profound. We often think of ourselves as independent, as distinct beings moving through the world with our own goals, thoughts, and identities. Yet when we look more deeply, we see that nothing exists in isolation. Just as each drop of water in a river is part of the greater flow, our lives are intricately intertwined with the world around us, shaped by it and shaping it in return. Consider the natural world. A tree standing tall in a forest may seem like a solitary entity, but its existence depends on countless other forces and beings. Its roots draw nutrients from the soil, which is rich because of decayed plants and the activity of countless microorganisms. The tree absorbs carbon dioxide from the air, a byproduct of the breath of animals and humans. Its leaves produce oxygen, which sustains life for others. Even in death, the tree nourishes the earth, providing a home for fungi, insects, and new growth. This intricate relationship is not optional. It is fundamental to the tree's being. In the same way, our lives are interwoven with the world, supported by countless connections we often overlook. Our food, for example, is not just something we consume. It is a symbol of this interdependence. A single loaf of bread connects us to farmers who grew the wheat, the soil and water that nourished the crops, the sun that provided energy, the people who harvested, processed, and transported it, and those who baked it. Every bite we take carries within it the efforts and existence of countless others. This interconnection is not limited to physical resources, it extends to ideas, culture, and knowledge. The language we speak, the tools we use, the stories we share, all are the result of collective contributions spanning generations and continents. Yet, despite this profound interconnectedness, we often live as though we are separate. Modern life encourages a sense of individualism, a belief that we must stand apart and rely solely on ourselves. This perspective can blind us to the reality that our independence is an illusion. No one is truly self-made, for everything we achieve is built upon the foundation laid by others. From the teachers who guided us to the infrastructure that supports us, we are constantly benefiting from the contributions of the world around us. Even the simple act of breathing connects us to every living thing, as we inhale the same air that has been shared and recycled by countless beings across time. Interdependence is not just a practical truth, it is also deeply emotional and spiritual. Our relationships with others reveal this in a visceral way. When we form connections with people, friends, family, or even strangers, we feel the pull of something greater than ourselves. Love, empathy, and compassion arise from the recognition that we are not separate, that another's joy or pain is in some way our own. These feelings are not weaknesses, they are reminders of our shared humanity, the threads that bind us together in the fabric of life. Nature, too, reminds us of this shared existence. Watching a flock of birds move as one, a school of fish darting in unison, or a forest thriving as a collective ecosystem, we see that life thrives through cooperation and connection. These natural patterns are not limited to the wild, they are mirrored in our own lives. Communities flourish when people come together to support one another, pooling their strengths and resources for a common good. Even on a global scale, the challenges we face, climate change, pandemics, social inequality, underscore the reality that our fates are intertwined. What affects one part of the world inevitably affects the whole. This interdependence also calls us to humility. When we recognize that our lives are supported by countless others, seen and unseen, it becomes clear that we are not the center of the universe. Our actions, however small, ripple outward, impacting the world in ways we may never fully understand. This awareness invites us to move through life with a sense of gratitude and responsibility. Gratitude for the countless ways we are sustained and supported, and responsibility to ensure that our choices contribute positively to the interconnected web of life. Interdependence is not a limitation, it is a source of strength. Just as a river's power comes from the collective flow of its many drops, our lives gain depth and meaning through our connections with others and the world around us. When we embrace this truth, we begin to see life not as a series of separate events or isolated achievements, but as a shared journey where every moment, every being, and every experience is part of a greater whole. Control is one of the great illusions of human existence. It tempts us with the promise of certainty and stability, suggesting that if only we plan carefully enough, prepare thoroughly, and manage every detail, we can shape life to our will. But life does not adhere to our commands or follow a linear script. It moves unpredictably, like the wind shifting directions or a river finding new paths. The idea of control, though comforting, is ultimately a mirage, a futile attempt to hold on to something that, by its very nature, cannot be held. From an early age, we are taught to believe in the power of control. We are told to map out our futures, to set goals and chase them relentlessly, to master our circumstances and carve out our destinies. This narrative is deeply ingrained in the way we think about success and fulfillment. It is reflected in how we approach our careers, relationships, and even our identities. But this pursuit of control often leaves us feeling anxious and unfulfilled. Why? Because it is rooted in a misunderstanding of life itself. Life is not a static puzzle to be solved or a machine to be operated. It is a dynamic, flowing process that defies prediction and resists containment. When we cling to control, we create tension within ourselves and with the world around us. This tension arises because our expectations rarely align with reality. Life throws unexpected events our way: a sudden illness, a lost job, an unforeseen opportunity, or a chance encounter that changes everything. These moments remind us, often painfully, that we are not the architects of existence. The more tightly we grip the reins, the more we feel the strain when life veers in a direction we did not anticipate. This illusion of control also limits our ability to truly experience life. In our effort to manage outcomes, we often close ourselves off from the present moment. We become so focused on planning for the future or analyzing the past that we miss the richness of what is happening right now. Life unfolds in the present, in the small, unplanned moments that cannot be scheduled or controlled. A spontaneous laugh, a fleeting sunset, an unguarded conversation, these are the experiences that make life vibrant and meaningful. Yet, when we are consumed by the need for control, we overlook these moments, trapped in a cycle of striving and dissatisfaction. Ironically, the more we try to control life, the more it slips through our fingers. It is like trying to hold on to sand. The tighter we squeeze, the more it escapes. True peace and fulfillment come not from grasping, but from letting go. This does not mean abandoning all effort or resigning ourselves to passivity. Letting go is not the same as giving up. It is about recognizing that while we can influence life, we cannot dictate it. We can plant seeds, nurture them, and provide the right conditions, but we cannot force them to grow. Growth happens in its own time, according to forces beyond our control. Letting go requires trust in the flow of life, in its inherent wisdom, and in our ability to adapt to whatever comes our way. This trust does not come easily. It often requires unlearning years of conditioning that equates control with security and success. It asks us to confront our fears, the fear of uncertainty, of failure, of the unknown. But when we embrace this trust, we discover a profound freedom. We no longer feel the need to micromanage every aspect of our lives. Instead, we can respond to life with openness, curiosity, and flexibility. This surrender to life's flow is not a weakness, it is a strength. It allows us to move with the currents rather than against them, to navigate the twists and turns of existence with grace. When we let go of control, we become more attuned to the opportunities and possibilities that arise naturally. We begin to see challenges not as obstacles, but as invitations to grow and adapt. We start to appreciate the unpredictability of life as a source of wonder rather than a threat. The illusion of control also blinds us to the interconnectedness of existence. When we believe we can control everything, we isolate ourselves from the greater whole. We forget that our lives are shaped by countless factors beyond our influence: other people, nature, society, and forces we cannot even comprehend. Letting go of control allows us to see ourselves as part of this larger web, to recognize that we are not separate from life but an integral part of its flow. This shift in perspective can transform the way we approach our goals and aspirations. Instead of viewing them as destinations to be reached through sheer force of will, we can see them as part of a journey. We can set intentions and take action while remaining open to the twists and turns along the way. This openness creates space for serendipity, for the unexpected blessings and lessons that arise when we are not rigidly attached to a specific outcome. By letting go of control, we also cultivate resilience. Life will always bring challenges and uncertainties, but when we stop resisting the flow, we become more adaptable. We learn to bend without breaking, to move with life rather than against it. This resilience allows us to navigate difficulties with a sense of ease and acceptance, knowing that even the roughest waters are part of the journey.